Hi, I'm Time Magazine Assistant Managing Editor Rana Foroohar, and I'm here with Time International Editor Bobby Ghosh.
Hi, Rana.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
We're going to be talking today about some of Time's and Time International's upcoming features, and I think we should start with the Time domestic cover, which is a really fascinating piece called Evangelicos. It's by Elizabeth Diaz, the Washington correspondent, and it's all about how Latino Americans are creating an entirely new religious trend. They're leaving the Catholic Church and going into Protestant churches around America en masse, it's a fascinating trend historically if you look at where Latinos are coming from religiously in this country.
Well, it's interesting. They fall somewhat in between two stools. The Republican Party now is making a very strong play for this community to make it part of their base. And I think Republicans are very attracted when they hear they're socially conservative. And they assume, well, if they're socially conservative, then they naturally fit into the Republican right-wing political spectrum in this country. On the other hand, they're very conscious about social responsibility. They're very conscious about making change. They're much more activist than you would expect from a conservative religious movement. And that makes them much more, they care about social justice. That makes them much more part of the democratic base. So there's a sense now in this country that this group is up for grabs, that the right politicians from either side of the aisle can reach out and make a connection with Evangelicos and then bring those votes into that party.
It's going to be really interesting to see what happens over the next 4 years with this trend, because obviously demographic shifts and the Republicans' inability to come to grips with that were a huge part of the election stories in 2012 and probably will be again in 2016. Let's go to Syria. You guys have some amazing pictures in this week's issue.
We have a really amazing photo essay by a dear friend of mine and a great war photographer, Franco Pagetti. Franco has covered wars all over the world for many, many years. And what he's done in this photo essay is captured something unique and very poignant and very human. What happens in the city of Aleppo, you have all these neighborhoods that have been quite badly damaged by shelling or bombing by Bashar Assad's troops. And in the wreckage, the government forces have snipers who are looking to kill people, sometimes kill rebel fighters, but sometimes just kill ordinary people to make mayhem and to sort of build an atmosphere of fear. And you can't always see these snipers, that's the whole point. So to create sort of blind alleys through which people can travel safely out of sight of the snipers, people are hanging sheets between buildings, in buildings to protect the view inside from outside, and they're using unused awning fabric, they're using bed sheets, curtains, whatever they can get their hands on, and so entire neighborhoods seem draped with these sheets, and it's surreal.
Ghostly. Did you speak to the photographer about what he sensed of the emotional landscape there and people's spirits? How are they feeling several months on now?
Well, Franco was in New York recently, and I got to spend some time with him, and there is there's a mixture of resignation that this is a war that's going to go on for a long time. The outside world is not going to come in to save anybody, and determination to continue fighting. So yes, this is going to go on for a long time. Let's not, the early enthusiasm of 2 years ago when the Arab Spring was in the air and everyone thought that, well, we can get, we've got Mubarak, we've got Ben Ali, we'll get Assad in a couple of months. That's gone. But there's a sort of firm determination to keep fighting, even though the end point of the fighting is no longer in sight.
It's interesting, speaking of the Arab Spring, you have this wonderful, wonderful column by Robin Wright this week about the arrest of a really popular Egyptian comedian.
She writes about Bassem Youssef, the Jon Stewart of Egypt.
Have you seen him perform?
Oh, he's incredibly funny. I've known him for a long time. He was a cardiac surgeon who, during the Arab Spring, sort of went to Tahrir Square first to provide medical services, then got caught up in the fervor of it, and then when Mubarak went down, he had an epiphany of his own and decided that he was going to have a change of career and became a comedian. And his show is incredibly funny. He is, as Robin says, an equal opportunity satirist. He pokes fun at everybody.
That's amazing that he thought he could do more for his country as a comedian than a cardiologist.
Well, he also thought he could have some more, he would have a little more fun. but what's remarkable is that in the post-Arab Spring era, that's possible.
Yeah.
Before, Egyptians have always been incredibly funny people. They've had this wicked sense of humor. I've known that for all the years that I've covered the Middle East. For a long time, it was a survival mechanism. You made jokes about the regime, but you made it among your friends, and you didn't say it out loud. It's amazing after the Arab Spring that Bassem Youssef can have a show like Jon Stewart's show, on which he makes fun of the president, he makes fun of members of opposition, he makes fun of religious figures, and that he was in a way a barometer of the new freedoms that the Arab Spring brought. And so now that the government is going after him on what seem like plainly trumped up charges of insulting Islam and insulting the president, that brings a chill in the air. That makes you start wondering.
It's interesting because it really does bring home the point that if you can have humor, then all is not lost. And I'm interested in the fact too that the public nature of what he does, in a lot of countries, in Iran and China, you can joke online, you can joke in private, but once you start doing any of this stuff in public, you're in trouble.
Yeah, the really great thing is that he's absolutely determined to continue. He has, this has attracted international attention from Jon Stewart on down. And that is now his shield. His success is his shield against the regime. And this is a test case. If President Morsi doesn't have the sense of humor to be able to take this kind of very gentle poking, then that will tell us something about the nature of the president and his government. And I think he's going to discover that in this new democratic age, if you don't have a sense of humor, then you're going to lose your legitimacy and quite possibly power very quickly.
That's, that's perhaps a good point to stop with. Bobby, I want to thank you for being here today, talking about all these great stories, and thanks to all of you for watching.